SB1 is approved, they still have to go through so much, and they're like, goodness gracious, I wish I just directly entered with your help, and that way we didn't have to go through this process. And that's the thing. If you're going through the SB1 process, presumably you've left the US for some time. But if you watch our YouTube channel, and in the past 5 years, we've helped hundreds, I think over 300 clients now that have re-entered the US, even though they left the US for over a year. And the most recent one was 7.5 years. My craziest one was 13 years, right? That's just unbelievable, right? Even I still don't believe it. But 13 years out of the country, but the officers still let them in, right? And green card was saved. So take a good look at the arguments. But SB1 is extremely difficult at the consulates.
Can I come back after a voluntary departure?
Can you come back into the US after a voluntary departure? The answer is yes. You will have to reapply a visa at the consulate, and depending on your immigration history, you might need a waiver. And so that's the complicated thing, right? And so if it was a removal, voluntary departure, how are you going to get that waiver? Do you have a qualifying relative, etc., etc.? That is something that you have to really think through. Maybe you have to wait the 10 years, right? Maybe you have to have an extraordinary non-immigrant visa to come back, but you'll never be able to get an immigrant visa to come back. So there's a lot of things to kind of think through. But know your fact pattern, know your exact case in the US, because any immigration lawyer who wants to help you analyze it, they will need your entire e-file.
I'm a U.S. citizen, filed I-130 for my foreign spouse on May 2025. Can I expect the I-130 approval anytime soon?
We have seen 3 months to 6 months approvals for I-130s and 45s. But we've also seen cases take 9 months to over a year for these I-130 and 45 interviews. So it's all over the place. We always set our client expectation that this entire process could take 2 years. Obviously, could be faster.
Marriage AOS to a U.S. citizen has been pending since November of 2024. Anything I can do to speed it up?
Your U.S. citizen should probably contact their congressman or senator because they are their constituents and say, hey, look, I'm married. It is my right to petition, and it's taking way beyond processing time. It sounds like it's almost 2 years now before we are seeing some cases get approved within 3 months to 6 months. What's going on? The congressman and the senator would be able to send an email to USCIS to alert them of this problem, and USCIS could end up adjudicating the case much faster.
Okay, for our YouTube viewers, is this any better now, the audio? Or does it still sound like he is deep in a hole? Okay, our K1 has been sent to the NBC when the fiance came to the US. We plan to move to another state. So K1 sent to NBC when they came into the US. We want to move to another state. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes. You're free to move wherever you want in the country.
Okay. So I do want to get back to what we learned at this immigration consul.
Yes.
Okay, so it's at NBC still. Does that change anything? So they're separated, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can move wherever. The goal is you have to prove, your relationship is real. So where you move is not the most important thing.
Now, I'm really curious about this AI.
Yes.
Does this count as hi, William Goebel? I'm here. I'm glad. How is it sounding to our YouTube? Is it true discretion if it's through AI?
Yeah. So right now, I know the consulate's using AI because when I toured the Mexico consulate, they showed us how they're using it. But I think they're using it the right way, right? People fill out their DS-160s, but then AI uses it to scrub the information and to compare it to the immigration history that they know of, and they flag any discrepancies. And if there are no discrepancies, they waive the visa interview, and the applicant directly gets the visa in the passport, right? No interview scheduled. That makes everything much easier. But if there are 1 or 2 discrepancies, it's an automatic interview, or it's an automatic flag for a small department of people to review to decide if an interview is necessary. And more often than not, there is an interview that's required. And so that's why filling out your DS-160 to the consulate and applying for a visa is so important, because if you do it well, it might save everybody time and effort, right? The consulate doesn't want to do these interviews any more than you do.
And so, what are we talking about here?
We're talking about people who are applying for a tourist visa who also come to the US, or other types of visa, or renewing a tourist visa that they've already had, right? Sometimes your interview could be waived, and that's because they're using AI to screw up everything. And there's no discrepancy, there's no problems. They could just immediately approve it. Other visa categories like the E2 treaty investor visa, well, that's probably going to have an interview. If you're applying for a green card and you're applying for an immigrant visa at the consulate, you're going to get an interview, right? No matter how well you filed the DS260, it's mandated that you get an interview. But AI still scrubs through everything and highlights information for the interviewing officer to note and to ask. But what we're concerned about and what we're hearing from the panelists, at least at this AI convention, is that they are seeing requests for evidence that's seemingly generated by AI, because a human would not write like that and use it. And we all seen AI writing. And so we have a pretty good feeling that that's what it's doing. And that doesn't seem fair, even at the request for evidence stage. And if it's at the denial stage, that is even worse. Meaning, if you submit your application for anything, for a green card, for citizenship, for your extraordinary ability, category visa, you submit it. If a human being did not look at it and AI scrubs through it, gives a request for evidence, you respond to it with a stack of documents, and then AI scrubs it again and sends out the denial saying, sorry, you do not qualify. That is really concerning. Now, we are getting to the age of, well, what's the difference between a human looking at it, doesn't quite believe you, copies and pastes something from Word into the system and sends out the denial? Isn't that roughly the same as AI? I would argue no. At least a human mind went through that process. A faulty human mind, nonetheless, democracy and our society depends on humans. And it's okay if there are incorrect human judgments. But once we have AI completely over, that's a problem. Now, that's why I'm so shocked by what the panelists are saying, that AI might be doing this. If they're adjudicating things like I-90 extensions, very basic things, and they're just checking the forms, maybe I'm a little bit more okay with it. But still, everything it requires discretion, and if AI replaces an officer, that is not right. Again, this is just anecdotal things that we're hearing, but that is one of the most shocking things that I've learned at AILA in a long time. And a solution doesn't quite work in my mind, right? Because a solution is don't file online, file physically. But I mean, they still scan it and it's still in the database, right?
Will they issue working permits for a spouse with adjustment of status?
Will they issue work permits for spouse?
Will they issue working permit for spouse with adjustment of status? And if so, when?
Work permits and travel permits typically take 4 months to 6 months. That's what we're seeing here in California. In other parts of the country, it might be a little faster, and a lot of times they might skip it completely and just issue the green card. We've just heard from our Florida colleagues. I spoke with 2 Miami attorneys on this adjustment status issue, and they're seeing their processing time between 3 to 6 to 8 months. And most of the time, skip the work permit, travel permit, and just directly go to green card. Several of our California colleagues, including myself, routinely see cases that take more than 8-9 months, and work permits and travel permits issued maybe around 6 months. So all around the country, different processing time, and therefore different advice to different clients.
Can you tell me how tornadoes form, please? I really want to know.
I wish I knew too.
So you can't?
No.
Have you seen any advanced paroles being approved for DACA?
Yes, advanced parole approved. Successfully leave the country, obviously, but successfully coming back into the country, much more important. And I haven't seen, at least from our office for sure, and from our colleagues, I haven't heard of advanced parole being denied entry into the US. Or typically they'll call me, right?
Oh, about the moving. Don't forget AR-11 if you move.
Yep, AR-11 is a great tool. You always want to update. With that being said, I haven't seen much pushback from the government fining people if you didn't update your AR-11 in time, because you're supposed to do it immediately. But yes, anytime you move, definitely fill it out. AR-11 takes you less than 5 minutes.
What is the extreme criteria that the officers think that is proof of a bona fide marriage?
If you're talking about you have a higher standard of proof in your application because you had a prior asylum claim. So most cases, when it's just married to a U.S. citizen, you have to just be preponderance of evidence. Meaning, if your application is 50% real, more likely than not, okay, we'll prove your case. But if you had an asylum case in the past, now it's not just preponderance of the evidence. It's not just, oh, I need to more likely than not 50%. Now you need to be like 90, 98%. That it has to be 100% real, indisputable, right? So if you're talking about like, well, what is that indisputable, slam dunk proof? And a single proof that is both sufficient and necessary in order to, well, not saying necessary, but sufficient in order to completely win your marriage case, even though you have a high standard proof. I wouldn't even say one kid is enough. Most officers probably grant you, if you have a birth certificate with both parents' name on it, that's probably enough. But I've seen officers still ask detailed questions about the marriage. So I'm like, wow, that's insane. If you really want to say detailed, indisputable proof, probably everything else that people do, and then like you donate an organ or you save up the person's life, or you're like on a documentary or something, like something that's so crazy that the officer doesn't need anything else. It just completely applies it. Most people don't have that, and so you have to work with what you have, and there is rarely anything that's necessary or sufficient. You have to help the officer understand your situation. Not everybody's wealthy, not everybody's religious, not everybody's political. People have different lifestyles. Not everybody's straight. Not everyone's gay. Everybody has different lifestyles. Help the officer understand in your situation, in your life, that this is the love that you have. But this love, you have this proof, and that should be more than enough. Do your best.
RP says, I'm in the Midwest and I had joint horse adoption papers. I think that won my case.
Wow. That's amazing. Yes.
Is that the first you've heard of that?
That's the first that I've heard of it, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Can I not claim my 18-year-old child on taxes so that FPL is lower, or is that a bad idea?
I don't know. I haven't really thought through that. But yeah, good question.
FPL. I like the tie, very sharp.
Thank you.
Very beautiful. I'm a permanent resident, green card holder, renewal. My re-entry permit last year, October 18th, 2025. Permanent resident.
Yeah.
Renewal, my re-entry. So renewed my re-entry permit last year, October 18th, 2025.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
It takes about a year and a half right now. So we were seeing a lot of cases take a year and a half or longer. 16 months, I think, we're seeing sometimes now, or even longer. So it's just in processing.
Are you a con artist?
Thank you for the flattery. No.
Oh, federal poverty level must meet 125% during the green card after K1 marriage.
I see. Are you saying by adding your kid to your tax return, when you file a case, when you file the IRS tax return, you get more credit, but will that harm your immigration case? The public charge rule for USCIS was updated last year, I believe August. We did a very detailed video on the public charge rule, and they're looking very in-depth into it. In the past, the denial rate for somebody that on public charge is like extremely low. It's like in the double digits for all of the United States. It's extremely low, like probably less than 2% or something like that. That's what pissed off Donald Trump a lot, because he thinks a lot of people should be denied public charge. So the big amendment regarding public charge is that now, even if you do meet the poverty guideline, even if you have a joint sponsor, it might still not be enough based on discretion. So, based on what you said, does it lower your chance? Yes. But look at everything else. Use their memo to your best advantage. They look at your health. If you are extremely fit and healthy and able to work, well, having an extra dependent might not harm you as much. If you are highly educated, if you held a job for an extremely long time, if you have great Yelp and Google reviews, if you have letter recommendations from your employers and customers, those all can help you, right? So I think holistically, look at everything. If you are way past the threshold of public charge, I wouldn't worry about it. And honestly, since that memo came out in August of last year, that caused huge waves in the immigration community. Everybody's like stressed and worried that U.S. is going to start denying a bunch of cases based on public charge. Up till now, I haven't seen a single case get denied on public charge based on the new memo. So take that with a grain of salt. Understand the situation, but most likely, when you review everything, if you feel you're well above the 125% guideline, you have a lot of things going for you. You have assets, you have income. Don't worry about adding a kid.
Do you have a JD or an MBA?
I have a JD. Our firm have many MBA legal writers, but I have a JD.
On this public charge issue,
Yes.
a lot of people forget that they already have 40 SSA credits already. That should bypass public charge.
Yes. That most often I see a lot of Indian nationals, people who are on H-1B, people who have worked in the U.S. for a long time. Then they have the 40 credits. But many other people who are foreigners out of the country, they might not have that. So that's something to think about.
Is there a time limit that you have to file for an LLC while your digital business is actively generating income?
For immigration purposes or for tax purposes, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it depends on, I guess, which visa category, because a lot of visa categories even allow for sole proprietors, believe it or not. So you don't even have to use an LLC or a C corp or an S corp. You can't do an S corp if you're a foreigner, but C corp or LLC, just do a sole proprietorship, right?
What can a person who is in asylum, who asked for asylum is denied, and they're in ICE detention, what can they do to stay in the U.S.?
We don't do asylum, we don't do removal, we don't do detention work, so I'm not in the best position to answer that question. I will try to find out. I'm actively working with the American Bar Association to partner with them to be able to do more work and to help people in the detention center. At this AILA conference yesterday, I spent a long time with the ABA's nonprofit organization to discuss partnerships. So we're going to roll that out. So in the coming months, we will probably prepare and I'll be in a better position to help answer that question. But right now, I just don't know.
A German citizen with adjustment of status, must she go back to Germany to collect that visa?
If you're doing an adjustment of status in the United States, you will file a 45 application. If it gets approved, the green card will directly be mailed to you, and you will have the green card, and you'll never have to go to consulate, hopefully ever again. But if your 45 is denied and you want to still get the green card, you might have to go back and apply for the immigrant visa at the consulate, get that approved, then come back in. But today's sessions, we learned a lot about, well, what if your 45 gets denied? Should you file another 45? Should you do a motion to reopen? Should you do a motion to reconsider? There's a lot of things that can possibly happen. But if you are in the adjustment of status process, hopefully, fingers crossed, your case will get approved and you don't have to go to consulate.
So there are options even if the AOS is denied,
Yes.
so you don't necessarily have to go back.
Yes.
Okay. What else? What other big takeaways from sessions this year have you gotten?
There was a really interesting session talking about influencers, content creators, gamers, streamers, TikTokers. Because there are people all over the world right now flying into the United States for the World Cup, for a lot of different things, for Olympics later on. And that is becoming the current trend. A lot of people's full-time job is to do content creation, and they have brand partnerships, and they are influencers in a sense of everything they do. They are showcasing a product or a service, and they get paid for it. As a tourist visa holder, as a tourist, and as a ESTA visa waiver, you are not allowed to work. But in the world today, there's a new profession of content creators and influencers. When they come to the US, and how often do they come to the US, is that considered work? There's an in-depth panel discussing that, and it branched into a lot of in-depth discussion about O1s and P1s, and that is something to really think about. Today is probably not the right time for us to go that deep into it, but if you are getting paid and you are coming to the US, that is something to think about and how you want to answer really correctly to the officer. Some answers are okay. Some answers will doom your case and will cause your visa to be revoked, and you have to apply for a waiver later on. It becomes very problematic.
Yeah, I definitely want to do a separate video on this to post on YouTube because they got pretty deep with that, and it was kind of unexpected. When you achieve your dual degree of the JD and MBA,
Okay.
and you pass the bar exam, should you then take the CPA exam to solidify your MBA?
You know, I just went back and visited Pepperdine, and I remember when I was there thinking about that because Pepperdine had a really good JD MBA program. I mean, not many schools have both a great business school and a great law school at the same time. And I was this close to doing it because I like business and I do business immigration law. And so when I was doing my JD, I was like, man, should I add it on? And just a couple years ago, I was really thinking about should I get my EMBA, executive MBA, because I've been running our international firm for like 10 plus years now, and I accepted into several EMBA programs. My answer, and this is very personal, is that the world has changed so much since the time of what an MBA gets you. The knowledge, the network. I feel like there's so much that you can get, and it's so much more important than a degree. License is pretty important. A degree, a little bit less so. If you are a CPA, you can write certain legal opinion letters as a CPA. As a lawyer, you can do certain legal opinion letters. For an MBA, maybe unless you're trying to go into finance, unless you're trying to go into SEC law, and you might need that to analyze certain things, maybe it's not that worth it. So I don't really recommend the MBA path. CPA I heavily considered, but ultimately I feel like in this day and age, 2026, the most important thing you really need to learn and do is probably learn AI.
Mm. Just like CBP and just like USCIS, I guess.
Well, you learn it how to use it as a tool and learn how to spot it when somebody else is using that tool against you, right? So learning how that technology works, essentially.
I'm a permanent resident. My green card is expired for 5 years now. I applied for my SD1 visa. Is approved. How? I don't know.
Congrats. Any approval is great. I celebrate the wins.
Don't forget people skills. We need them more than AI. Or we need them more with AI.
With the age of AI, people skills become much more important.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, talking about this MBA, right? How many AILA conferences would an MBA, would the money you spent to MBA buy you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, here's a clear math that I did when I was deciding whether or not to add additional master's degree, because I was actually deciding adding an MBA to my JD or adding a master's in dispute resolution to my JD, right? And I calculated it. Pepperdine was going to charge me $20,000, and I thought, well, what is $20,000? It is $500 for like a long time. I don't know exactly how many years, but I just remember it's like almost the rest of my life. If you calculate interest and investment and all that, right? So, but what is $500? You ask. Well, $500 is almost like a mini Apple product for the rest of your life. So it's like, would I rather have this additional master's degree, or would I rather have a brand new Apple product every single year for the rest of my life? And would that bring me more joy? Would that bring me more utility? Well, I thought about it, and it was a pretty easy decision on my part at that moment. I don't know, right? Everybody has different ways to kind of analyze things, but nowadays, how much is an MBA? It's no longer 20,000, right? It might be 150,000. So think about that.
It's a lot of laptops. Yeah.
Can you buy with that, right? You could buy all the AI subscriptions, probably, right? $20 here, $50 there. Buy all of it. If you had all the AI subscriptions, will that make you a better human being than having this degree? Your call. Your call.
What problems can I have with CBP if I enter the US with a tourist visa but still have an expired green card?
I've seen that be successful many times. The biggest problem that I saw this happen, I want to say a couple months ago. It's ridiculous, actually. The client got the tourist visa, had a green card, expired. entered the country several times over many years. I want to say like 3, 4 years. But guess what? Every single time the client came into the US, showed the passport, showed the visa, officer let them in, they let the person in as a green card holder and not the B1, B2 visa. And because when we went into the system to search, there was no I-94. There was no record of them entering as a tourist visa. And that was a big problem because they don't want the green card. They want to enter as a tourist visa, and now they are stuck. So that's a problem that we're facing. And this happens routinely when somebody has multiple identities. Not illegal. You can have multiple passports, you can have multiple different names. You can have one person can have multiple visas. You can have a student visa and a tourist visa, and you can have a green card. You probably can't have a citizenship, but you can have multiple methods to enter a country. But the officers can only allow you to enter on one of them. And you need to make the officer know which one you want to enter and make sure they let you in on that right visa.
So some follow-ups. Can you help with deferred inspection? I have a clean record, and my son is U.S. citizen, over 21. Also, a little bit more. Applied for SB1, was denied, classic. So I applied for B1, B2, that was approved.
Yeah.
And I was away for 9 years to take care of my sick father.
Makes sense. And so you're coming into the country as a tourist visa. But what happened with the deferred inspection?
Good question.
Because
Good question.
most of the time when I get involved with deferred inspection is when somebody confiscates the green card. Now, let's say you came in as a tourist visa and with an expired green card, but the officer accidentally admits you as a green card, and you don't want that. You want your tourist visa. Sure, I can help you go to deferred inspection and say, officer, you let this person as a green card. Your mistake. Please let them in as a tourist visa. But maybe you'll be like, no, that was great. Now I got my green card back, right? And then I apply 990, you get your green card. Hallelujah. That would be great. So usually we get involved with deferred inspection when the officer does something to you, and you now need representation to get it back or change it.
What should I do if I want to stay after my J1 visa? I'm not applied on the 2 years residence.
J1, you're allowed to change status. You might need a waiver. And there's a lot of options for a lot of different people, right? And so look through all the different visa categories, see which one is the best fit. Here's something that we learned, I think the last conference we went to, and is that J1 waivers are no longer slam dunk. Even if you get the waiver, USCIS might not still accept it. And so that is something to be conscious about. Okay.
And Joseph, do you want to talk about a success story today, or you want to talk more about AILA?
We'll take one more question because we gotta go to another meeting, right?
Got you.
Yeah.
What has been the your favorite part of AILA so far? Just these past couple days.
What is my favorite part of AILA so far? I think. Let me think. There's a lot of things that I really enjoyed. I love the brainstorming that is happening here. I see nonprofits and other nonprofits getting together and trying to hash out exactly how to survive in this administration. Fundings are being cut to nonprofits. They don't have the ability to staff their attorneys or their paralegals. Other nonprofits that are doing pro bono, they can't do a case for 10, 20 years, right? Lawyers don't stay at the same law firm. How do you solve that? And I saw 2 nonprofits come up with this solution that the nonprofits that get with the limited funding to have as many cases filed, they have non-attorney staff prepare and file cases, but they hire the pro bono attorneys from another law firm to consult and to do the cases. So that mashup was a perfect solution to solve 2 problems given this administration. There's a ambulance over there.
It's only getting louder.
It's only getting louder. Yeah, it's coming our way, so it might be in our hotel. Let's see. Another thing I really enjoy about AILA Oh, here's another one. Having gone through, talk with almost every single exhibitor, I've seen these same companies for the past 10 years that I've been coming to AILA. Actually, more than that. I've probably been coming to AILA for the past like 14 to 18 years. Okay. A lot of these same vendors, they encounter the same problems and they see the same issues. And they are trying to survive just like immigration attorneys and just like clients. Cases are getting denied, cases are being challenged. How can they evolve? They are struggling and they're coming up with creative solutions as well. And just knowing that and just hearing their solutions is eye opening because you realize it's not clients who are just suffering. Immigration attorneys are coming to these conferences sharing trade secrets with each other on how to win cases. Vendors and these companies that help immigration, they are also trying to come up with creative solutions to help the attorneys to help the clients. And so coming to this conference really makes you feel warm and cozy because you know you're not alone and that everybody is here trying to survive and trying to make it work. And I think that is the greatest value in coming physically to this conference. The knowledge is phenomenal, great speakers. I'm not talking about myself, I'm about all the people who pour their heart and soul into something like this. But being here and being able to just sit and talk with fellow practitioners and vendors, nonprofits, think tanks, government relations, AILA full-time staff, coming together and trying to figure out a path out of a difficult spot. That's amazing.
Okay, in our final, I'm just going to squeeze one more question in. This is still on the coming back with an expired green card.
Okay.
Will CBP pressure me to sign an I-407? I don't want to be turned back, sent home, and I also don't want to be detained.
That's a hard question because here's what I know. CBP has formally said they don't like to force clients to sign 407s. They don't want to do 407s. It's a pain in the butt. They don't want to do it. But I've seen them continue to do it. So it's a possibility. I've also seen officers ask a client to sign a 407 and the client says, no, I don't want to sign it. And then CBP passes them over to ICE and then they get detained for over 5 weeks. And then they have to voluntarily depart and leave the country. That was a nightmare. I've seen that happen. I've seen officers also give I-193s. I've seen officers do deferred inspections. So I've seen the full gambit of possibilities. The only thing I can think of is just to prepare your case really, really well and choose the best port of entry. Don't choose a super strict one. And within that port of entry, find the best method of entry because at every airport, they have certain processes in which you might have a higher chance of success. But if you were to ask me, Mexican border is definitely the best. Big airports are better than small airports. Big airports that cater to celebrities and use their VIP service, probably better. If you can have global entry, you have other clearances, probably better. If you can have letter of regs, if you can have entry packages, even better. You're doing everything to kind of improve your case. But again, I think we've made over 100 videos on this entry. You can check out our YouTube channel, check out like green card holder re-entry. You can see a lot of the different things. Hopefully that's helpful. We're gonna be here again tomorrow for another live. And again, all this recorded will be on our YouTube channel probably in the next few days. Take care. See ya.
Thank you, everyone. We will be here tomorrow at 6 p.m. And yes, we can. Okay, it's complicated. We can't represent the clients at the Mexico border, but
Well, yeah, we can because I do prepare G28 and I go talk to the officer and I prepare everything. So in some ways we do represent you, right? But check out our videos because I literally walk you through 50 plus
a lot
cases,
of videos. Yeah,
exactly what we do and how we do it.
And you can always book a consultation too if you want to talk more.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks everyone. We will be live at this time tomorrow.